Hey guys, it's Jane. It's Friday and I'm here for Friday Reads. I have got quite a few books to run through because it's 2 weeks since I've done this. It's school holidays here and we were away for a while with the family. So I'm going to get onto that pretty quickly. The only thing that I will say before I start running into the books is that we've got a few family things going on in the next couple of weeks, so it's possible that I won't be able to do this next Friday either, and so it feels like getting into a fortnightly rhythm, which is not a good rhythm because there's too many books when I only get to do this once a fortnight. But maybe I can sort out a late one or something. It all just depends how it goes. But the boys are back to school on Monday, so you know it's not all bad. Now last time that I was doing this, I had just started Cryoburn by Lois, McMaster, Bujold. This was a top read. It is another one of the Vorkosigan saga books. In it, Miles is being sent to a new planet that we hadn't visited before, and it's one that their whole industry is based off of cryonic freezing as part of a life extension technology. And yeah, the people that we meet are great. The adventure is great. There's just enough kind of reflection on the kind of bioethical ramifications of life extension technologies to make it, you know, a little bit of an intellectual feast as well as a jolly good read. I love these Vorkosigan books. If you haven't picked them up, you've got to try it. You've got to try it. The second book that I finished after Cryoburn was a surprise and a delight. It's called Sorcery and Celeilia, or The Enchanted Chocolate Pot. And it's a Regency sort of Jane Austen and magic kind of mashup. There's two authors, Patricia Wrede and Caroline Stevermer or something. I don't know that I can actually pronounce her name correctly. And it's an epistolary novel. So one writes as Kate, one of our heroines in the story, and one writes as Celeilia, the other heroine of the story. So they're two friends. Are they cousins? They may be cousins, or they're just friends. Anyway, they come from the same small town in England, and one of them has gone up to town, up to London for the season. She's making her debut, coming out into society. The other one probably should also have gone this year but hasn't, is staying back at home. And there's dramas in town and there's dramas in the country and there's various romances blossoming, and there's a kind of nasty sorcerer on the loose, and yeah, it's a romp. It's been around for a few years. It's not a new book. If you run across it somewhere, you may well have it in your library, for example. Very entertaining, enjoyable light read. Now, the next one that I read, I was hoping would be more of the same, but turned out to be quite a different kettle of fish. Lammas by Katherine Kurtz. It's another older fantasy. It's a Second World War story, and it's not an alternate history, it's a secret history. So it's not that they've changed the events, but they are she's kind of reading an extra layer into events during the Second World War. So it opens with Dunkirk, with the evacuation and basically the abandoning of France and the continent to the Nazis, and then the subsequent intensification of the bombing in England. It's this time when there's this constant expectation that the Nazis are going to invade Britain. And all of our heroes are witches or magicians or people of some sort of esoteric bent who are being called together in order to protect England. And it sounded like from the blurb that it could be just a really fun read, and the first third of it I really enjoyed, and then I realised it was actually not written lightheartedly, that it was actually taking itself incredibly seriously. There's very long descriptive sections about the mystical rites and stuff, and it dragged a bit. The second half dragged a bit, and the whole thing is just a little bit ponderous. And yeah, when you're taking magic as a kind of fun plot device, I am all for it. When you're actually kind of trying to describe actual possible real magic sacrifices and stuff, I'm like, yeah, I'm not so sure about that. But anyway, so that one was Lammas Night by Katherine Kurtz. The next thing that I read was also it was a novella, Poison or Protect by Gail Carriger. Now, I have put off reading any Gail Carriger. Lots of people on BookTube are really in love with her. She wrote the Parasol Protectorate. I have not had a great track record with steampunk, and there were just some things about the way the books were described didn't really speak to me. But then my library on their sort of recent acquisitions list had this novella which is set in the world of the Parasol Protectorate, and I thought, look, I'll just give it a whirl. This is sort of a low bar entry point. I can give it a whirl and maybe I'll be sold. Maybe I'll decide that I really do want to read the other ones. But yeah, that didn't happen. Thankfully, after that one, I read a really good one. The third Expanse book by James S.A.Corey, which is Abaddon's Gate. I have finished the second series of The Expanse on Netflix. Such a good series. I'm really enjoying that adaptation, but the books are even better, of course. And yes, this third one is probably a little bit of a darker turn than the earlier books. And I did spend a lot of it expecting our heroes to die, or at least most of them, but the body count wasn't quite as high as I was expecting for most of the books, so that's kind of relief at the end. But yeah, it's a pretty full-on story, but these are just done so well. The adventure and the drama and the pacing and the characterization and all that sort of stuff, it's done so well. And there is some really interesting sort of philosophical stuff that's going on in this third one. I really enjoyed that one. One of the things that we did when we were away on holidays is we took the boys to a bookshop, because it's not a proper holiday if you don't go to a bookshop. So this is a book that I picked up, just a random book that they had on their sale table at the bookshop. Relish, My Life in the Kitchen by Lucy Knisley. I'm going to go with Knisley. It's a graphic novel. Well, it's graphic storytelling, and it's sort of a memoir. It's a collection of memories from her childhood and young adulthood. She's only 20-something as she's doing this, so it's not a huge canvas she's working on, but there's these stories around food. Her mother was involved in all sorts of food industry work as she was growing up, and she has also worked as a cheesemonger and a cater waiter and stuff like that. And so she's got lots of sort of important memories from her childhood and young adulthood around food, and it's fine for what it is. It's not life-changing, but it was enjoyable. So that was a good thing that I picked up at the bookshop. The last thing that I finished was Emma Newman's Between Two Thorns, and I really enjoyed this. It's the beginning of a completed series by her called the Split World series, and yeah, there's lots of great characters, and it was written really nicely, lots of fun. It's kind of a fairies and mundane world split, and there's sorcerers, and there's a walking talking gargoyle, and it's got lots of really fun things going on, but the actual story was really engaging in this one. So probably our central character, there are a number of different point of view characters in the story, but probably our central character is Katherine, who's a young woman who grew up in the in-between between fairy and the mundane real world. She's one of these member of one of these great families who serve the fairy lords, basically. So she's a human, but her whole sort of family and social order is constructed around, you know, serving the fairy lords. And it's a very constrained existence. And she has rebelled, and at her coming of age, everybody as a member of the great families gets to ask a boon of their fairy patron. And there's a certain range of things that you're expected to ask for, but she asked if she could go to university. And so she has been living in the mundane world for a number of years at the opening of the book, and she's not planning on going back. She is, as far as she's concerned, she has left home and she's not going back. But very early on in the story, events transpire to pull her back into this really constrained world that she had left. So that is the setup of Between Two Thorns, and it's a very enjoyable read. I've actually, having finished that, just picked up the second one in the series, which is called Any Other Name, and I only just started that today, so I'm not going to say any more about that, but I really enjoyed the first one. So that's where I am. I'm not 100% certain how long this video has gone for, but I think from the feeling in my throat that I've probably spoken for long enough. If you have read any of these, I would love to hear your version of events. And if you haven't read any of these, I'd love to hear what you're reading at the moment, and any recommendations for a good read. Anyway, that's the thing. I hope you're all well, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.